CBSE Board, Class 11, History, Chapter 3, Part 17, Audio by Renee Matthew. Oil was used as a medium for painting for the first time, which gave a lot of richness to the painting. Richness of color was there than before, and in the color and design of costumes which were used in paintings, it gave so much of life also. And we saw that these people, they wanted to give lot of emphasis on naturality and perfection, which was very close to life, right? So there is great evidence of the influence of Chinese and Persian art, which was made available by the Mongols. Lot of evidence about Chinese and Persian art is there, which was made available by the Mongols. Everything began from there. Anatomy, geometry, physics, these three subjects, and also a strong sense of what is really beautiful gave a lot of quality to Italian art. We already saw that studying geometry in depth and anatomy will help the painters to go into a profound sense, into a deep sense of the paintings that they did. And it was so beautiful. It gave a lot of quality to the Italian art. It started giving so much of quality. And that is what is known as realism, and that continued till 19th century. Before that, if you check the paintings in the internet, it was of a different quality. It was of a different texture, and even the appearance was different. But these three things, the way, the proportion in which everything was done, it was totally different. Now we need to talk about architecture, which was really important. Look at the architecture. It's just one picture given there of the Roman architecture, which is still very famous, and the government takes a lot of care to maintain the remains of the architecture. The best architecture, one of the best architecture in the world, which is still preserved. The city of Rome was very spectacular. It was revived. Everything that was lost was revived in the 15th century. The popes became very politically stronger in 1417. And that was because of the weakness caused by the election of two rival popes since 1378 had ended. There were two rival popes, and during the election, their position went down. It stopped. It had ended. So the prevailing popes, the present popes in power, became very strong, and because of that, the city of Rome was revived in spectacular way. You should remember that after the fall of the Eastern Empire, the Roman Empire, nothing was happening in the Roman cities. It was just left in desolation, right? So they actively encouraged the study of Rome's history. They said that we have to go into the history of Rome to understand the real architecture and everything that happened behind Rome. We still have got the ruins in Rome. It was carefully excavated by the archaeologists. Very carefully they had gone through it, they had studied it, and we also saw how the archaeologists used to excavate without causing much problem and without causing much damage. They used to scrape it through, right? And we already saw that archaeology, the way it was a new skill for people, right? And this gave an inspiration to new style in architecture, and it gave way to the revival of Imperial Roman style, now called classical. So then it was known as Imperial Roman style, but now it is known as classical. New style came into being in architecture. Everybody started taking notice of the new style in Rome. We can see that popes, wealthy merchants, and aristocrats started employing architects. And they were very familiar with the classical architecture. They started contributing a lot, and they started understanding the ethics and the strategies behind using classical architecture. Even artists and sculptors started learning the classical architecture. They started decorating all the possible buildings with paintings, sculptures, and reliefs. They beautified whatever they saw. So even now, if you go to Rome, it's like it's so filled with rich architecture, decent and rich architecture. Okay, do you know who this person is? Some individuals were skilled equally. I told you that this was a time, the Renaissance was a time when people started exploring and developing the skills that were hidden inside them. Some of them did not even know that these skills were there inside them. Some of them were equally a painter, sculptor, and also architect, all three in one. And the most important impressive example was Michelangelo Buonarroti. He is a person who immortalized the ceiling, especially which was painted for Pope in the Sistine Chapel. Very important painting in the Sistine Chapel. You can check the you can check the internet for that. And also Pieta is already given in your textbook. The design of the dome of St. Peter's Church, all in Rome. Everything was actually designed by Michelangelo with so much of care. So he was a painter, sculptor, and also an architect. Okay. So now this is Michelangelo. Yes. And Filippo Brunelleschi. He was an architect who designed the spectacular, magnificent Duomo of Florence. And he started his career as a sculptor. He was the one who designed and also he was a sculptor. So 2 in 1 here. So the artists were known individually by name by this time because of their skills and because of what they did, and not as members of a group or a guild as earlier. So now they were known by name. They were known by so many skills that they had. Earlier it was like they belonged to a particular guild and that was how they worked. But now it is like they are known by name because of their skill and because of the potential that they had as all these artists. Now we need to go into printing, which is one of the most important phase, the first printed books. People in other countries also wanted to see the paintings and sculptures and buildings which erupted in Italy, but it was very difficult for them to travel all the way to Italy, right? So in case of written word, it was not like that. Whatever was written in Italy got traveled to other parts of the countries. How? It was because of the greatest revolution of the 16th century, and that was the technology of printing. Technology of printing in the 16th century. Okay? I've given a picture here. It shows how the European traders and diplomats were working during those times. So Europeans are really indebted to the Chinese for the printing technology. So they were then also very techy, the Chinese, very forward. And also to the Mongol rulers, because European traders and diplomats, when they traded with the Chinese and Mongols, they got to know about the technology, the technological strategies that they used and the ideas they had. Even then Chinese were very good in ideas, very forward in technology. They became very familiar when they interacted with them, and they started using it for their own. This was also the case with 3 things, that is firearms, the compass, and the abacus. You must be very familiar with these 3 things. The firearms, the compass, and the abacus we overlooked to the Chinese and the Mongols for its invention. Another person is coming up on the screen. The texts were usually made into copies by writing them down, and we saw that many important people like the scribes were used to write down these texts, multiple number of texts. In 1455, 150 copies of the Bible was printed. You should remember and you should know that the only available book in those days was the Bible. So they started making copies of the Bible, and Bible is the base for all literature, especially English literature, where writers started taking stories and everything from the Bible. Then only everything got evolved. They took ideas from the Bible. So Johannes Gutenberg, this is Johannes Gutenberg. He was the first German who made the first printing press. The German who made the first printing press. And earlier it will take maybe a lot of time for a monk to make one copy of the Bible, because they have to write it very neatly without any mistakes. They will have to proofread it, and then they have to create that original draft, and that will have to be kept in the library. But now it was not like that. With the printing revolution, it was very easy. Now we have to go more into the details of printing and look at the initial printing machine, how it was used, and the metal clammers and all that which was used. It was very difficult to actually assemble it, to arrange it, and then print it onto the first page. It was very manual. It was not mechanical. Now things are very easy. So during 1500, many classical texts, almost all the Latin texts, were printed in Italy. Most of them got printed in Italy, and printed books started getting circulated. It was much possible for them to buy these printed books, and students need not have to depend only on lecture notes. It was easy for them to take printed copies without depending on the lecture notes. Ideas, opinions, and information started moving widely from one place to another, and it was more rapid than before. Instead of just having few ideas and opinions, when it started moving, the access was also more. Exposure was widely there. So because of all these things, information also traveled. So printed books started promoting new ideas. When you read a book, when you start accessing a book, you have new ideas, and it reached hundreds of readers. And you should remember that the entertainment in those days, of course, later was drama, but initially it was books. Reading books, and people just read and discussed on the books. It made it possible for individuals to read books, and owning a book for oneself was a great privilege. To have a book in your shelf, to have a copy of a particular book was like a great privilege, and they were able to buy copies for themselves. So that was a great happiness which got circulated, a shared happiness, and that is how the reading habit also developed among people. Even the news, and maybe you must have heard that people used to assemble in coffee shops where they will discuss on plots and books and such kind of things. The humanist culture of Italy only made these things possible. It was spreading more rapidly, especially across the Alps from the end of the 15th century, and printed books got circulating. Everything started getting circulating. And this also explains why intellectual movements have been limited to just particular regions. Because everything started circulating, but it explains why these movements were only limited to particular regions, because they got access to these books. A new concept of human beings. What is a new concept on human beings? Very important part of the section. One of the most important feature of humanist culture was the slackening of the control of religion over human life. Now, religion did not have much control over human life. It was actually deteriorating. It was going down. That was one of the most important features. People did not actually depend on religion. That was the truth. Italians got strongly attracted to material wealth, power, glory. They wanted to spend their life in luxury, and that was not necessarily, religious. It was very irreligious. They started imitating a lot of things which couldn't be accommodated in the religious realm and domain. Francesco Barbaro. Okay, he was a humanist from Venice, and he wrote a pamphlet defending acquisition of wealth as a virtue. He defended acquiring lot of wealth as a virtue. He was against it. He wrote a pamphlet against it. Okay? And there is a work by Lorenzo Valla, and the name of the work is On Pleasure. He believed that the study of history will always lead man to strive, to struggle, and to lead a life of perfection. Always men who study history deeply will allow them to lead a life of perfection. Why? Because you will understand the mistakes and the progress and the strategies and everything that the people in the past used. You will learn a lot of things, and some of it you will inculcate in your life, some of it you will do away with. So all these things are there. It also criticized the Christian injunction against pleasure. Totally against pleasure. The Christians, all the pleasure that they had, it was against. A lot of moral virtues came into being. There was a lot of concern regarding good manners, how one should speak politely, dress correctly, and also the skills a person of culture should learn, all the skills that you should have, the way you should dress, the way you should speak, everything was given a lot of attention, and that is how humanism propagated these good manners. It also implied that individuals were capable of shaping their own lives through means other than power and money. There were a lot of other ways in which you can shape your lives rather than power and money. Why should you go for power and money? It is not required. You can actually go for all these things. You can show your skills in lot of other ways which were humane and not necessarily through the pursuit of power and money. So that was the kind of teaching that they had.